back to JM Farm and Cattle. I'm Emily, or as most of you call me, Mrs. JM Farmer. I am here because you guys were awesome and over 500 of you liked Jesse's video. So I get to teach you how to can some pickles. I don't have a set big homemade recipe or anything like that I use. My mom and his grandma have a great recipe that they both use. Maybe someday you'll get lucky and I'll try one of those. But for right now, I use Mrs. Wages, just a little package. You can find it any place that cans. I buy mine at Orchland's. And so far, I have tried the dill pickles and the kosher pickles. You can definitely tell a difference in them, but they both taste awesome. So for my first step, what I do is I wash the pickles off. These are all the pickles I have so far. And I don't use the ones that are yellow like this. That's pretty bad. That's been sitting in the house for about probably 4 or 5 days. I've picked all of these in the last 3 days. So far I've canned 63 quarts and 3 pint-sized pickles. So yeah, the first time I had about 17. Second time I had 63 pickles, and I canned 33 jars because they were bigger. They were kind of like this one. So you couldn't fit as many in a jar. And then the last time I had 64 pickles, and I canned about 18 jars because they were all more like this size. These work a lot better when you do it just because you can fit more into a jar. If you use the bigger ones, there's less room and you're gonna have a gap at the bottom, probably that much of the juice, which isn't bad, but it's still kind of nice to have a more full jar. So what I do first is I just come over here, I just rinse them off. That's all I do. I don't soak them in anything. I don't use soap. I just rinse them. There's probably a different way to do it, a better way to do it, but it's just how I do it. So I go through and rinse all of them off first and let's sit them out to dry. That's normally when I count them. I think this time I thought I got 43 of them. So yeah, there is that so far. That's the first step. So what I do next is I take all my jars and I wash them. I've got quite a few already washed, so I'm not going to redo it, but I usually just put a little soap in there, swish it around, make sure it's clean, rinse the lid, everything like that, and then they're ready to go. Most of the time, most recipes say you need to take them from warm water before you put the juice in. Knock on wood, I haven't done that. I've only broken 1 jar the first time I ever did it, so cross our fingers today that does not happen just because I'm on camera. But after we cut, I wash all those, then I get the pots ready. So these are the pots I use for the bath and to mix the juice in. For the bath one, this is what you stick the cans, the jars on. It holds it up. So you're gonna have them here and then you're gonna put them all in. I fill this up with water quite a ways and then I put a little vinegar in. Keeps the jars a little cleaner instead of dusty and stuff. Okay, so now that I filled it up, I kept this part at the top, and then I put in just a little bit of vinegar, like I said. If I don't do it each time, there's a little grime at the top, at the rim of the jar. So the vinegar helps keep it clean instead. I put it on high heat and I let this sit until it's boiled and the jars are ready to go in there. And then this pot is where I'm going to make the juice. Okay, so now we're gonna mix the mixture together. So now that I turn that open, I'll show you the back of one. That's the recipe that I follow. It calls for about 9 to 11 pounds of pickled cucumbers. I just do it until I run out. So we add 3 1/3 cups of vinegar. And then we add 7 1/3 cups of water. So that's what it looks like. You gotta make sure you stir it. You gotta try and get the whole packet mixed in there. You don't want any of the little crumbs at the bottom. And then you turn it on high until it boils. Once it boils, then you turn it down. Otherwise, you're gonna lose all your juice inside from steam. Now we are going to slice. So I got this cool little Cuisinart slicer last year, and it crinkle cuts them, which is pretty neat. The one I used last year, this is a jar from last year, they're just straight. I'll show you a little closer. They're just straight cut. There's nothing crinkly about them or anything like that. But this year, they are pretty neat. So what I do is I take the first cucumber. If there's any like bad spots on it, I normally cut those off. And then I just come up here, slide them down. To about there, just because I don't want to cut my fingers off. Jesse definitely learned that once. And then this is what they look like with this cutter. You can just see the lines in them. Pretty neat. I mean, they're different. They're pretty cool. I like them that way. So then I just continue to do this until I have enough to fill some jars. As I am cutting some of those pickles though, I like to come over here and continue to stir this pot. You don't want to let it sit here. It'll just kind of burn up on the bottom. And again, you want to make sure you get all that mixture put in there so it's not like all grainy at the bottom. I have also cut them into spears before. Jesse really likes those. He thought he was pretty cool when he did it. Okay, so now we got kind of a bowl full. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some of them into jars. I just kind of put a couple in there. Once it gets a little full, I shake them around a bit. I try and fit as many in there as I possibly can. Get the more out of each jar then. If there's a better way to put these in here, totally let me know. This is not the fun part. Especially, try not to use these jars like I am with the smaller lids. These ones are a lot nicer. This is what I normally use, but I ran out of them last time, and so I went to these ones, and I just want to finish them up. No need wasting them when I have them. And so, but these are just a lot harder to get all the cucumbers in there. So you might not fill them up as much. And that is about where I fill them to. You want to leave this rim right here empty because you have to fill the juice and there has to be enough air in there for it to seal still. So then you just move on to the next one. I like the smaller pickles. Last year I had quite a few that were just utterly ginormous. I don't really know why, but Jesse loves them because you could fit like one pickle on the size of a big hamburger. And so they were kind of fun to have, but I enjoy these smaller ones just because they're easier to put in here. So yeah, there's the second one. It is still pretty full, but they do shrink down a little bit when you put the juice in, so there are still some gaps, so there probably will be some juice on the bottom. This is boiling now, so now I'm going to turn down the temperature. I don't need it all boiling away before I even get the cucumbers in there. I just put the lid back on, let it cool down a little bit. Right before I go to fill the jars, I'll turn it back up just a smidge. It usually warms up pretty fast. But there was one day I went through many bags of it just because it wouldn't keep up and it kept evaporating, and so then I wouldn't have any left. So that one's not quite full. I will continue to cut them until I get full. I need about 7 jars. I need about 7 jars in order to bathe them, just because that's how many it fits and it's easier to do as many as possible. While you can, you also need to make sure that they're evenly spaced out in there, otherwise the thing tips when you pull them out, and that's definitely no fun. Okay, so now what I need to do, I need to take this little pot and I need to fill it up with just a little water and then put my lids in there. You want to make sure that they're warm when you put them on the lids. For some reason, it helps seal them better. So you just put enough just to cover them. About like that. I usually just put it on about medium. It doesn't need to boil. It just needs to get them warm for when you do put them on the jars. So we'll let those sit until we're ready to fill the jars. Okay, so now that I have all of my pickles, my jars full of cucumbers, I'm going to fill them with the juice. So what I have over here is my juice in there, a little pour thing to scoop the juice up, put them in. 1 second. Little spout thing. This makes it a heck of a lot easier to pour the juice into these smaller rimmed ones. I normally don't use them if I use the bigger ones, but this is a lot easier to do it this way. And then this stuff is absolutely amazing. It's Mrs. Wages as well. It tells you on the back how much to use. It gives it a crunch. Last year I didn't use any of this, and the pickles are good, but they're just not as crunchy. They're just, Jesse calls them McDonald's pickles. So I put in 1/4 of a teaspoon in each jar after I pour the juice in before I seal them. So here goes nothing. Jars filled. You come here with a napkin and you just wipe around the rim. Helps it seal. Take your scoop, put it in there. And then you grab your lids. Now that they're warm, and a fork. Sorry, not very prepared. But yeah, so you just take the lid out with the fork, because it is pretty hot. And then you take and then you just stir it on. Make sure it's pretty tight. Want to make sure that it seals properly. And there's your jar. You just repeat and repeat until you got it all. Rim right here. You know, you don't want to go over it, otherwise it's not going to seal properly. This recipe is just super simple, easy. You don't have to put any dill in or anything like that. I did watch a video of I guess just the company that makes the sauce, or makes the juice, and how they did it. They said not to put anything extra that isn't Mrs. Wages in there because they don't know how it'll react together. So be careful, I guess. I have them all jarred now. Like that. So I come and I put them in. I try to start by the handles first. They do get very wobbly and it will knock it from side to side, and that's kind of risky. You don't want to make anything fall over. But if you have them in the middle there, then they won't do that. Okay, so that fits 7 comfortably. Now you just come in here, rotate it. Rotate it so it's easier for me to grip later when I pull them out. And then just set them in there. You want to make sure the water is about right there, right where they are, right about at the lid. If some of them aren't hitting it, that's okay. You just want to make sure that they at least touch some part of the lid, is what I've always done. And then you cover it. You just wait until you see steam rising out of whatever you're using to bathe the cans in. Once you see the steam, then you set a timer for 15 minutes for quarts, 10 for pints, and then as soon as that's over, you pull them out and set them out. You wait until they pop. You'll hear a distinct. Once you hear that, then you know that they're done and they're ready. If you don't hear that though, you want to put them in the fridge and eat them within a week, otherwise they are probably going to go bad. So yeah, we will let this soak, and once they're done, I'll pull them out and show you that. Okay, so hopefully you can tell a little bit. There is steam coming out of it now. So now that there is, I just set my timer for 15 minutes. And with 5 minutes left, I'll start my new jars that I have all ready to go over here. Just need to fill with the juice. So we will see you in about 10 minutes. Okay, so the timer went off on these ones. Make sure you turn it down to low. Let it kind of cool down for a second or two. The steam is extra hot, so you do want to make sure and be careful. I usually try and cover my hands. Then you just grab the handles and hook it up back on there. And then I've got my handy dandy little jar grabber. Then you just move them over to your racks. I usually like to leave them not on the counter, and then they'll just sit here on here until they pop and cool down so you can put them back in a box. There you go, there's those. I'll let them sit, they'll pop eventually, and I will start on my next batch. Well guys, that is everything I have for you today. I have my last 3 still bathing, and after that I'll just wait for them to pop. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video and learned something, and if you try it out, definitely let me know how it goes in the comments. I don't know what's coming at you next, but maybe you'll see me again. I do have some tomatoes that are turning red, and I might be making some pasta sauce for you soon. Jessie will let you know, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and give it a thumbs up, and we will see you next time on JM Farming Cattle. Have a good day.